tea, right? I was living in Taiwan. My dad would send me coffee I couldn't really find good coffee in Taiwan, at least what I thought was good coffee. And this was a long time ago, in the 90s. I was really, one of the things that was a big draw for me in Taiwan was the traditional Chinese martial arts. Feel free to slurp too. Like, slurping is really good for getting with this tea, we evaluate this tea based on aroma, flavor, and mouthfeel. 3 of the most important aspects of evaluating tea. There's also other things like color, like amount of sediment. But when I would do these kung fu workouts that were really intense, my stomach would hurt. Like it was just too much with drinking the coffee. I had this student, I was teaching this guy English. He had his family had this milk fish business, which they had this amazing fish soup. So every time I would go to his place, we'd start downstairs eating the soup and eating the fish. And then we'd go up to his apartment and he'd make me coffee. And then I just would get the combination was really bad. I would just get kind of sick from that. And then I would go to Kung Fu and I was like, oh, I can't take it. Then around this time too, I met this mentor of mine. He became a mentor. He was a feng shui, a geomancy expert and an acupuncturist. And he was 64, and in Taiwanese they say he was in Chou Pi. And that means he thought he was the shit. And he was. This guy had some skills. In Taiwan, it's really fun. They have traditional knowledge that we don't practice or believe in here as much, or maybe I found out that we used to, but it was called Facebook. You guys heard of Facebook? No. This is the original Facebook. He gave me the original Facebook, how to read people's face. So he would say, this is a skill, this is a skill, and he taught me how to read people's face. It's really interesting because you shape your face and where you might have a line or the position this, where your ears are oriented or how long. And so this guy he was kind of my health mentor at this point. He became my health mentor, and he healed me. He helped me. But basically, he was I ended up spending a lot of time with this guy, and we spent. I would go to his house every evening. And he would basically say to me, you want to drink some tea? And I was like, yeah. And then he'd brew the tea, and he'd tell me why he was using that teapot, why he was brewing the tea that way. So he was the first one that took me up into the tea mountains, which is something I really wanted to do because I knew, I'm from Eugene, Oregon, and I was by this time too, I was drinking a lot of tea in Taiwan, and I would study and drink tea. That was one of my favorite things to do. Is I would make tea like this sort of style where I'm steeping the tea over and over again. These are all whole leaf tea like this, and it's really quality tea. And so I would feel wow, this feel really good, and then study. I would do that every day because one of my Kung Fu brothers told me, if you want to learn Chinese, you have to. If you want to learn to read and write, you have to practice writing for 3 hours a day minimum. And I was like, okay, whatever. I didn't have anything to do, so I drink tea and study. And it was one of my favorite parts of my day. I really fell in love with the tea.
And what's the difference between first steep, second steep, third steep?
Well, do you guys notice a little bit how it changes?
Yeah.
So it starts kind of lighter. It depends on how long you steep it. But basically, you can, when we brew tea, our job is to try to make the best tea we can with the tea that we have, right? So you're brewing a tea, and you want to try, they call it, brewing the tea is a skill, right? And so the skill of brewing tea is you're trying to make, some people can really brew tea, they're really good at it. And some people are not. But it's one of those things that you can get better at just by practicing, right? Just like any skill. You're not born with it. But the way you develop the skill is you brew tea and you taste it. You brew tea and you taste it. You pay attention. Did I brew? How much tea did I use? What temperature was the water? How long did I steep it? And you just pay attention to all these variables and the little nuanced subtlety. And over time, you accumulate, and then you ask your teacher, you know, what's this situation? What's that situation? What does it taste like?
Kind of like honey. Super cool.
So you got the floral, right? What else?
This.
Yeah, you guys want more? You can have more. You want down, whatever. We're gonna.
Always get more tea.
It was kind of subtle and soft at first.
The texture, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the softness. Anything else? What's that?
Green tea.
Yeah, like green tea, right?
Did anyone notice the mouthfeel? Like how what that's like?
So the softness
Yeah.
you said.
Very smooth.
So the smooth, right? This is a high mountain green tea from a 4th generation tea farmer. And when they pick the tea, those flavor characteristics you guys said, like the floral, the honey, the green, this is called a green oolong. So this is a lightly oxidized oolong. Oolong is the range of tea between green tea and black tea. So like right where green tea stops being green tea, that's where oolong starts, like around this style. And then it goes to now what we're gonna drink is a more oxidized, more roasted oolong. And this is gonna be more full body and a little bit richer, but it's still oolong. Oolong is really broad range of tea, and it's a specialty. I saw in one book they referred to it as Taiwan's darling, right? Like Taiwan is really unique in its tea production because Taiwan is small, very small island, and it's also has the people of Taiwan have a very independent mindset. If you go to like Nantou County, which produces the most tea of any county in Taiwan, and then you go to the tea farmers and you go, hey guys, we're all gonna grow the same kind of tea and we're all gonna put it in this one product and it's gonna be called oolong tea. Everybody's gonna be saying, nope, I'm doing what I wanna do. And all the tea farmers in Taiwan have their own way. It might be similar, but they're all trying to grow the best tea. Whereas a lot of other tea producing countries, they do it much differently. They're producing massive swaths of land to produce a sort of uniform. So it's quite different in other countries. Taiwan's very unique in the tea production. Again, this is an agricultural product, but the thing is when they scale it down like that and they make it small and special, this tea is not inexpensive. It's not trying to be inexpensive. It's trying to be better. As I started meeting these people that are like the ambassadors of tea art in Taiwan. Tea culture embodies so many things. When I first got into tea, I was like, oh, this is rad. Tea's so awesome. I'm gonna be able to understand it because I'll just learn about it. Well, it turns out you don't just learn about tea when you're learning about tea. You have to learn about clay, porcelain. You have to learn about the different type of maybe tea ware or even the cloth that accompanies it or the setting. Because again, tea is subtle. When you have anything that influences the mood, then it influences the tea and vice versa.